well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam & Company. My name is Cam Edwards. I am glad that you are with us today. We've got a good show for you. Going to be spending quite a bit of time on California today, specifically the California that Kamala Harris knows quite well as a district attorney of San Francisco, as the attorney general of the state of California. And we're going to talk with Rick Tyler, director of development at the California Rifle and Pistol Association, about Kamala Harris's time as an anti-gun prosecutor and as an anti-gun attorney general there in the state of California. Before we do that, however, the Trump campaign with a special offer just for you. President Trump really wants to give you a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat, and he wants to make sure that the lucky winner is one of his top supporters. So be sure to enter soon, because this is an opportunity that you do not want to miss. This offer only going to a select group of supporters. You are one of them. All you have to do is text ARMS to 88022 today for your chance to win a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat and own a piece of history. Again, that is ARMS to 88022. To enter to win this contest and join President Trump in the fight to keep America great for 4 more years. Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. All right, so let's talk to our friend Rick Tyler from the California Rifle and Pistol Association, a guy who has seen firsthand the damage that Kamala Harris has done to the right to keep and bear arms there in the Golden State, and the damage that she would love to be able to do to the Second Amendment from coast to coast. Rick, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. It's good talking with you today.
Love being here. Good to hear you. And good to see you, Cam.
Absolutely. Listen, let's talk about Kamala Harris here, because gun owners in California, you all have a long history with Joe Biden's vice presidential pick. Not only was she the attorney general of California, but before that, she was the district attorney in San Francisco. And I mean, she's been going after the right to keep and bear arms basically as long as she's held office, hasn't she?
Yeah, there's clearly nobody else, I think, Joe Biden could have picked his running mate, with the exception of Beto O'Rourke, that would send a more chilling message to anybody who owns a firearm or believes in the rights guaranteed under our Constitution and Second Amendment. This woman is to the core, to the very bone, anti-Second Amendment. And this is the reason I've yelled for years. As you know, Cam, we have to stop some of these crazy people here in California before they go national. And she is a prime example.
Absolutely. So I've written about at Bearing Arms the fact that during the Heller case, back when Kamala Harris was district attorney in San Francisco, she signed on to a friend of the court brief that was filed by Washington, D.C.'s local attorney general, Adrian Fenty, arguing that D.C. residents and, frankly, Americans had no right to own a handgun because the Second Amendment did not protect an individual right to keep and bear arms. So I start with the understanding that Kamala Harris, even though, again, the media has been telling us she's a gun owner herself, that she does not think and she does not believe that the average American and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
No, and this is the total hypocrisy, and I hate to say it, but especially of California politicians on this matter, from Harris to Pelosi. Both of them will say that you and I, Cam, and any of our friends should never be able to touch a firearm. Yet they not only security teams, they have their own firearms that they carry. And this is just elitist left that believes it is about them and not the people. They've totally broken away from the Constitution. And Harris goes further. I mean, this is what people have to realize. He's just not going to vote. She wants to be a leader on this. Her whole attitude is to remove everything that she calls an assault weapon away. And to be really clear, here in California, she was a leader both in the city of San Francisco and as our senator and as our attorney general for trying to make sure that she could broaden the definition. And at one point, she was trying to broaden it so far, it was removed Boy Scouts from being able to shoot anything that was a semi-automatic rifle, because she saw those as all assault weapons. And last time I checked, nobody in any military used a Boy Scout with a .22 rifle as an assault weapon. But that's how over the top she is.
That's amazing. So, I mean, basically a .22 rimfire, as long as it wasn't a single shot or a lever action, she wanted to ban that firearm. When did this happen? Was this when she was Attorney General of California?
Yes, that's exactly when that happened. And she's against, enacting stand your ground laws, which would allow homeowners to defend themselves. I'm on the road a lot, would allow my wife to defend herself. She doesn't believe that, even when there's the imminent threat of rape or murder. She just doesn't believe that. She is so about freeing felons and seeing people in jail as victims while victimizing those of us who are law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, that seems to be a commonality throughout her career, going after legal gun owners and claiming, again, that's getting tough on crime. But each and every one of her directives and her initiatives when she was in California before she was elected U.S. Senator, those were all aimed at the legal gun owners in California. She wasn't interested in going after guys with 2 strikes for violent crimes, ensuring that third strike put them behind bars. Her belief seems to be, well, if we crack down on legal gun owners hard enough and we erode and end their ability to own a firearm legally, then that'll have some sort of trickle-down effect on violent criminals.
Yeah, and, she goes a step further in all of this. She doesn't just go after us, she goes after the entire culture. And this is something we've been trying to get out nationwide as we've watched this develop in California. Obviously, Soros and Bloomberg have spent a lot of money to hold seminars in our state to get the anti-gun left really motivated, really organized. And one of the things that she has consistently tried to do is lead legislation that would, for example, take FFLs out of the game. She's tried to make it so onerous that people don't want to have a gun store because of the taxes, because, trying to revoke their licenses, revoke manufacturers' licenses. When I first started working for the California Rifle Pistol Association, we had many different gun manufacturers in the state, and pretty much all but about 1 or 2 have now left. And it's because of the policies that she was largely behind.
So what kind of policies are you talking about, Rick? What specifically did she do to target those manufacturers and firearm retailers?
Well, things such as putting through, getting a couple laws through with her group of people in our state assembly and senate that both raise the amount of money that they're being charged. She still consults with our state, our U.S. senator with our state senators and stuff. And so they have bills right now that are trying to make it so if there's a mistake, somebody doesn't put the X the way the Department of Justice thinks it should be, or doesn't dot an I, that's $1,000 to $3,000 fine. And so, when you're looking at a lot of SFLs that work with, different groups like us to be at, different banquets and things like that you've been at to move firearms, when you're looking at people going out there trying to work with Boy Scouts or, 4-H or FFA shooting programs, or even your local range shooting programs, it's not uncommon to forget to, cross a T or dot an I, but she sees that as an error, and therefore you should be punished. And so what that causes a lot of those people to go, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
And as a result, that has dried up the network.
Jeez. She's gone after gun shows too, right? I remember when she was DA, she went after the gun shows at the Cow Palace in San Francisco.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate irony for me. Anybody who has studied how, Germany disarmed before the Nazis took over, they went after specific groups. And I looked at the Cow Palace is right there in San Francisco, obviously one of the largest LGBTQ groups. We had many gun rights groups that are specialized in that community stand up and say why. Because she could have chose anywhere in the state to go after first, but she chose San Francisco, her backyard, in the center where all these other groups are, to try to remove, and was successful in getting the gun show out of the Cow Palace. We're still fighting that in court. But yeah, it's cost a lot of money. And her attitude has generally been like, even if I'm breaking the rules to get this law passed, do it. Because you know what? We can be in court for decades and also won.
Yeah.
And that's her attitude. She is so scary in this position, and we've got to stop it.
Well, and going back to what you just said a couple of minutes ago about her attacking not only gun owners, but about the culture of gun ownership. That's I think is a huge part of her attack on gun shows in California, claiming that, this is where criminals acquire firearms. Now, look, I think California's gun laws are ridiculous, but every gun sale in California, whether it's at a gun show, retail location, they're supposed to go through a background check, 10-day waiting period. Even at the Cow Palace, when those gun shows were being held, that was the law, and that had to be followed. So this wasn't about, cutting off access to criminal acquisition of firearms. This was about cutting off access to being able to meet with your fellow gun owners, to being able to, get together and talk about those bills that were popping up in Sacramento, and to, to make those networked connections and to develop a strong, robust Second Amendment community in the state.
Yeah, and the demonization of gun owners that she's responsible for in this state has been interesting during this recent COVID-19 crisis, because like everywhere else, there were a lot of people in the left that did not own firearms, thought it was a big scary thing, that showed up because they realized the defunding of law enforcement, all things going on, that having a firearm was probably a smart idea. And as they went to those stores and went to go buy it, one of the classic comments I heard a lady make was, she said, wait a second, I just filled out, the 4473 so I can get my firearm, and I'm going through a background check. And the gun owner is like, that's correct. And she goes, that's going to take 10 days. She goes, well, probably more like 20 here in California right now. And she's like, okay. She goes, but then I also filled out, because we have a thing where you have to go through a background check to buy ammo. And she goes, I paid a little less than half the price for my ammo background check, and you just found out that I can buy ammo and I'm not a felon. That takes 20 days to find out if I'm not a felon, buy a gun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead, Rick. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you there.
People are catching on, and people are starting to wake up in California and realize, wait, this isn't about safety. This is about trying to force a concept that I shouldn't do something that I want to do. And that's exactly what she's trying to do. And, my nightmare scenario is if for some reason Americans were to elect her and Joe Biden, I don't think Joe Biden's going to make it to his first term. And there's a quote that I have on my desk right now from Kamala Harris that I keep telling people. She said, and I quote, so I will apologize to no one, both in terms of what I'm prepared to do, but also the action I intend to take, to say if Congress doesn't act by executive action, I will act.
That's right.
Scary. If he becomes president, by default, we would not have elected her to be our president. She will do it because Biden steps down for whatever reason. And this is a woman that has no problem becoming a dictator.
It's interesting you bring up that quote. And by the way, I will say that you're not alone in thinking that Joe Biden, if he is elected, is not going to finish out his term. I think that I saw a poll came out last week showing basically a majority of voters don't believe that Vice President Biden would finish out his first term, which is one of the reasons why his vice presidential pick, I think, is more important than perhaps a Veep pick normally would be. And as you say, I mean, she made it abundantly clear when she was running for president. By the way, I don't think she even made it to the first primary, because that's how unpopular she was as a candidate in that Democratic field. But she made it abundantly clear. You're right, Rick. She said if Congress does not act, she would take executive action to impose a universal background check to try to ban as many quote unquote assault weapons as possible. And that's just what she said on the campaign trail. So God knows what she'd say and what she'd do if she actually got in office.
Right. And she said repeatedly here in California, one of our other quotes is we have to get all these guns off the street. And it's like, that's the part that I have to keep arguing with people. Gun owners' guns aren't on the street. Those are the criminals' guns. And yet, you don't see her going after anything as a U.S. Senator. We didn't see her doing it as the Attorney General to go after. And one of the great examples I give while she was our Attorney General is we have a program here in California that tracks felons. Tracks felons that are not supposed to have guns and that they're supposed to go get. And there she is with her Department of Justice. We had over 30,000 felons that they knew most likely had firearms. They went after 6 people. 6 people. Yet, we had no problem drumming up laws to go after people like you and I who are law-abiding gun owners. And it's like, if you're really about firearm safety, if you're really about protecting the people, if you're really that great of an Attorney General, why didn't you go to the homes where you knew the people were already felons that weren't supposed to have guns and get those off the street? That's not what she wants. She wants to disarm the American vote.
Did she ever? I know that the auditor there in California kind of took her to task for not pursuing those felons that were in possession of firearms, and also kind of took her to task for failing to maintain a state database dealing with those who'd been adjudicated mentally defective and were ineligible to own a firearm. Did she ever respond to the smackdown that she received by the state auditor for failing to ensure the accuracy of those databases, and then failing to actually pursue those individuals who were prohibited by law from owning firearms but continue to do so?
No, her arrogance knows no bounds. I mean, this is one of the things I deal with all the time in Sacramento organization does, is the people up there's attitude is, yeah, I broke the law, so, and they move on.
Well, something tells me she won't have much patience for any gun owner who would take that attitude if she becomes vice president or president. So, Rick, I mean, final thoughts here. I mean, Kamala Harris was a disaster for gun owners as district attorney in San Francisco, as attorney general. She's done nothing to benefit illegal gun ownership or the Second Amendment as senator of California. I mean, this seems to be, to me anyway, the most anti-gun presidential ticket in American history. They are making it abundantly clear that if they are elected, they will do everything they can to turn our Second Amendment right into a privilege.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell somebody that if you think George Soros and Bloomberg are anti-Second Amendment, realize this is their person. This is the person they want, because she will execute every anti-Second Amendment policy she can think of.
Rick Travis, Director of Development of the California Rifle and Pistol Association. Listen, I appreciate you coming on the program, giving us some background about the history of Kamala Harris in California, and hope we get a chance to connect again soon, sir. Well, I imagine that's not going to be the last time we talk about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden between now and Election Day, but I do appreciate Rick Tyler from the California Rifle and Pistol Association sitting down with us for a few minutes today. We'll be doing some more deep dives into the anti-gun agenda of the most anti-gun ticket in American history in the days and weeks to come. Now, before we get to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, our recidivist report, another reminder that the Trump campaign has a special offer just for you. President Trump really wants to give you a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat. He wants to make sure that the lucky winner is one of his top supporters, so be sure to enter soon, because this is an opportunity that you do not want to miss. This offer only going to a select group of supporters. You are one of them, and all you have to do is text ARMS to 88022 today for your chance to win a signed 2020 Make America Great Again hat and own a piece of history. Again, that is ARMS to 88022 to enter to win this contest and join President Trump in the fight to keep America great for 4 more years. Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. So on to our good deed of the day, our armed citizen story, and our recidivist report. We're going to start there out of Wilson, North Carolina, where the suspect charged in the murder of a 5-year-old boy, well known to law enforcement apparently, Darius Sessoms, 25 years of age, accused of murdering Cannon Hinnant, just 5 years of age, at a home there in Wilson, North Carolina, allegedly in response to this 5-year-old riding his bike across Sessoms' front yard. Sessoms was caught on Monday evening in North Carolina, thanks to the help of U.S. Marshals, Wilson Police Department, and several other law enforcement agencies. He had his first court hearing earlier this week. He is facing first-degree murder charges, but he was also arrested and convicted back in 2016 on firearms charges, and according to authorities, violated that probation not once but twice, with apparently very few consequences. In fact, apparently there were very few consequences for that original conviction, because that was in 2016, and then by 2017, he's already violating probation. So 25-year-old Darius Sessoms had the opportunity, well, authorities had the opportunity to get tough on Mr. Sessoms years ago. They did not. When he was on probation and violated his probation, they had more chances to get tough on Mr. Sessoms. They did not. And now, 25-year-old Darius Sessoms accused of first-degree murder in the death of a 5-year-old child. On to our armed citizen story of the day from Omaha, Nebraska, where a homeowner says he caught a guy breaking in armed who was trying to steal his dogs. What kind of person tries to steal a man's dogs? That's just outrageous. This from Fox 42 in Omaha, Nebraska. 29-year-old Demetrian Washington booked into the Douglas County Jail on attempted robbery charges. Police say that Washington is actually awaiting trial on another robbery charge, but was out on bond when he allegedly decided to go steal these dogs. It was at a home near North 48th Street in Maple for a break-in and entering. That's what police responded to when they got there. They met the homeowner, 29-year-old Terrian Richardson, who said a guy who was armed came into his home, tried to steal his 2 pooches. Richardson was able to disarm Washington and shoot him, according to authorities. Washington actually showed up later at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, suffering from a minor gunshot injury. Officers made the connection between the guy who had showed up at the hospital and the suspect who had broken into the home. They were able to make sure that Washington was taken into custody after he was treated and released from the medical center. Thankfully, the homeowner is okay. The 2 dogs are okay. Looks like Mr. Washington's going to be okay, but again, facing now not 1, but 2 different robbery charges. Finally today, our good deed of the day from Lodi, California. This is a 66-year-old man stuck in his wheelchair on a set of railroad tracks, and thankfully, Lodi police officer Erica Urea was in the right place at the right time and willing and able to do the right thing to save that 66-year-old's life. There was a train coming, a Union Pacific train coming when she spotted this man. So she got out of her car, she ran over, she ended up grabbing the gentleman out of his wheelchair, pulling him to safety right as this train smashes into that wheelchair. As a matter of fact, the man's lower legs were actually clipped by the train. Thankfully, he's going to be okay. He was taken to a local hospital for treatment, but it looks like he's going to recover. But this would have been a deadly encounter if Officer Erica Urea had not been in that right place and at that right time. Lodi police saying that she risked her own life to save another. Her actions prevented a tragedy, saying they're extremely proud of Officer Urea as well as her heroism, and rightfully so. So in the right place at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing. Officer Erica Urea of Lodi, California, we thank you for your very good deed. Now, that is all the time we've got for you on this edition of Bearing Arms Cam and Company. I want to thank you for being a part of the program today. We'll be back tomorrow with more of the latest Second Amendment news and information. But don't forget, you can subscribe to Town Hall Media at YouTube. That way you never miss a program. Or if you like the podcast version instead, just look for Bearing Arms Cam and Company wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and we'll be there as well. Until we talk again, be well, be safe, be free, and we'll see you soon with another edition of Bearing Arms Cam and Company.